What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video we're going to be exploring a very interesting plugin for Revit called Planary by Agile4. So Planary is a tool for creating massing and feasibility studies with Revit. So basically how it works is you go into Revit and you create your property line, and then inside of the property line you basically just sketch out building parts by using some filled regions. Then you open up Planary and then you basically assign different building elements to those filled regions. So you can say one will be some retail space, one will be a tower, one will be green space, and so on and so forth. And then Planary allows you to, well, basically it turns that into a 3D model, and then you can assign more properties to that, and it creates all sorts of analysis and gives you all sorts of data from that model. Then you can go back into Revit, you can make changes to those filled regions, and all of the information will update, so you can make informed decisions when it comes to making your kind of the general idea for your project. It also allows you to integrate world map, basically allowing you to add the context with some 3D buildings, satellite images, and so on, just so you can kind of see how that building fits in the real world. You can export a massing model back into Revit. You can export satellite images. You can also export an Excel spreadsheet with all of the data from that model. So it's a very powerful tool for massing and feasibility studies. Now also what's really cool about it is you can actually get it for free for a free trial. You don't have to add any credit card information or anything like that. You can just sign up and get it and test it. I'm going to be leaving a link to that just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. And before we start, full disclosure, this is a sponsored video. Okay, so now without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. And here we are in Revit. So here I have created just some building elements. So here this is just going to be my retail space. I have named it here, so it's just basic filled regions. Here we have some green space. Now this, I want this to be kind of like a podium, so just a few levels for this bigger shape, and then this will be just a tower on top of that. And then of course we have a property line around that. So now let's start up Planary, and what I really like about Planary is that here you don't have it just like an additional tab, so like Lumion here, it's just kind of an additional tab and it takes up space here on my ribbon. Well, for Planary it's actually here under add-ins, so it gets sorted here, and I think it's much better just because it doesn't give me kind of additional clutter to my workspace. So I really appreciate that. So anyways, Planary is just going to start up, and then here as you can see, this is what that looks like when it starts up. Now I'm going to be showing you kind of towards the end of this video just how you can download and set up Planary for Revit. But here let's first just go over the workflow. So I like to just dock it here off to the side just like that, and then have Revit kind of here on the side, and then I would minimize this as much as possible, or even you can kind of close it down if you don't need it. So anyways, here we can add the sites here. So you just right click, you click on add site, and then we pick inside of Revit. So here obviously for the site I'm just going to pick the property line, and it's just going to bring that in. So as you can see here we have that property line. Now we can come in here, right click, and then add a new building, and then for this new building I can just right click, go add building part, and then I can pick out, for example, this retail space that we have here. So it's just going to appear like that. So if I can just perhaps move this over like that, yeah, it's going to look much better. Okay. So now I can come in here and I can select any of these elements, and as you can see we can add data. So I can add some information on zoning, on the ownership, some extra information, and then here we have the site area. Now for this building part I can rename it, so this will be retail. Okay, number of floors, 5 might be too much. I was actually thinking of just having one floor. For the floor height, let's go with 4 meters. Here we can switch it to underground. I'm not going to do that in this case. And then here for the use, this is going to be retail, as we said. And then for the section, here we have multiple options. I'm just going to leave this, we can just leave it as a podium or something like that. And then here we have the floor area. So it's just kind of small retail area. Okay, so now let's add the rest of this. So what I'll do is I'll just come here to the new building, so I can just click on that. I can actually rename it if I want to. Now in this case I don't want that, and I'm just going to leave it at new building, or I can say perhaps shops. Okay, that will work. Okay, let's now go back to the site, right click, and then let's add an additional building. So this one will be the tower. Okay, so for the tower, let's right click and add building part. Now we have to pick that out in Revit, so I'm just going to pick this big space here. See, that's what we have. And then for that building part, we're just going to set the use to commercial. The section is going to be podium. Number of floors, let's go with 3. I think that's enough. And then let's call this one just commercial. Okay, so here we have that commercial space, and then on top of that I want to add the tower. So I would right click here and click on add building part above, and then I can pick out this part here, and now I can select it. I can call this the tower, and then I can say, okay, so how many floors? I want 15, for example, so it's going to be taller, or even, I don't know, let's try 20. Yeah, so it's quite big. Okay, so then here we have the floor heights, the use. So let's say this is going to be just residential, and then the section, this is going to be tower A. Okay, so we have kind of now entered that data. One thing I didn't add is the green here, the green space. So let's right click, add land, and then I'm just going to pick this out. So we now have that land as well. Now here it's a little bit thick, so I'm just going to reduce the thickness to 0.1. And then the use is going to be greenery. So there we go. So now we have that land here. Okay, so once we're happy with the kind of the initial building, now we can take a look here at the analysis, and as you can see, we have all sorts of different analysis that appears here. So we have the total floor area, we have the gross floor area, we have the site area, the floor space index of checked sites and buildings, we have the building converge ratio of checked sites and buildings, we have the maximum height, stories, and so on and so forth. Now what I like here is the fact that you actually have a unit mix. So for the units, it's actually going to report. So here, as you can see, we have 14 studio apartments, 1 bedroom, that's 59 apartments, 35 2-bedroom apartments, and 11 3-bedroom apartments. So it even gives you that information. Now at any point, if you decide, well, okay, this might be a little, this might not be enough, my kind of the developer wants to see more apartments, and just he wants to sell more apartments, well, I can go back here to the model, I can double click here, and then I can extend this a little bit if necessary, so we can make that larger, and then that change, once we hit apply, as you can see, it's going to report back here, and now we can see we have more apartments and so on. Also, we can add new elements. So for example here, what you'll notice is we don't have any parking spaces, and it's actually telling us that for this building or for this site, we actually need to have 147 parking spots. So we have to fit them somewhere, and they're going to go underground, but I don't really have an area here where I can fit that. So what I'll do is go here to annotate and then go to filled region, and I'm just going to create a new filled region. First, I'll go here into edit type, and then let's duplicate this one and call it parking. Click OK. And then for the, I'm just going to make it gray. Yeah, that will work. Apply. Okay. And then here, I'm just going to draw. I'm going to use pick lines and pick out like the whole kind of outside boundary of this whole site. Go to trim and extend to corner and fix it all up. And now this is going to be our parking. Now once we finish, it's going to be kind of overlaid on top. That's okay. We can always select it, go to arrange, and send that to back. Okay, so once we have the parking kind of area here defined. I can then come back here and let's go here to the tower, right click, add building part, and then I'm just going to pick this building part here. Then I can select it and I can set it to be underground. So as you can see, it goes underground, and for use this is going to be parking. And now as you can see, we have many parking spaces. Now this might be too much. We almost have like double what's necessary. So I can come here. I don't need 5 underground floors. 3 might be more than enough. Let's try 2. Let's see, will that work? Well, 2 is not enough. So as you can see here, it's 111 out of 147, so that's not enough. So let's do 3, and that's going to give us a few more parking spaces, which is nice. Let's say that the developer likes that. Okay, so that's basically how we can make changes here in Revit, and that's going to reflect here, and we're going to get all of the data that's necessary out of there. Okay, so now let's say we want to test the kind of the site and the context, how this building is going to fit in. Well, we can do that also by going here to options, go to city context, and then let's turn that on, and let's give it a few seconds. There we go. And actually I'm just going to expand this a little bit because we need a bit more room. And then here we have to search for the address. Now I'm just going to search for my hometown. Let's see. Okay, so Belgrade, Serbia, and it's just going to find my town, and then I can just kind of scroll around and find the actual spot. So here, for example, here we have some commercial buildings, and let's say I want to build this somewhere over here, and I can just kind of play around, see the location, zoom in, and let's say I want to place the building here, but here, as you can see, we have the 3D site. Basically, we have 3D buildings, but let's say I want to place my building here instead of this one. This has to be demolished. Well, I can just go here to 3D buildings, go to edit, and I can just select these 2 buildings, and now, as you can see, they're gone. So now I can place my building there. Okay, so now let's place the marker on the map. So basically, I place the marker, and that's going to place the model there. Now, in this case, I want to change the base point. So what that's going to allow us to do is go back into Revit and just click where we want to see that base point. So it's going to bring in a family here that's going to kind of act as the base point, and then we can kind of move it around, place it wherever we want. And now that base point is basically here. So as you can see, we have kind of changed the position. Also, we have the option to adjust the rotation. So let's say I want the rotation to be like that. You can kind of play around, see what that looks like. Again, let's see. So yeah, I think it's okay. I just want to place it perhaps a bit here closer to the street, just like that, and then just to rotate it just a little bit more. Something like that. There we go. Looks perfect. So now we have the building, and we can see what that looks like with the context. We can also place a 2D map, which is basically just going to bring that into Revit. It's going to place basically that map, and as you can see, this is the exact position of the building. These are the buildings that we got demolished. So we have that option for building everything, for bringing everything into Revit, and also here I can turn on the satellite imagery, and as you can see, we have that image, and we can see what that looks like. We can also turn on the street names, so on and so forth, and in the future we'll have the option to place the 3D context into Revit. At the moment it's not available, but it is coming soon. Okay, so now we have kind of seen what that building looks like in the context, and now let's explore the analysis part just a little bit further. So here, as you can see, for these analysis, it basically runs the analysis by itself, but it's obviously using some sort of methodology for this. Well, you can actually set all of that up if you go here to options and then go to preferences. Here we have the preferences where you can kind of set everything up. So you can set up the efficiency percentage, the self efficiency percentage, the area units, the length units, the parking space area. So for example, if you have like a parking spot, it obviously has some area, but you need to include a bit more just for the kind of the part for navigating around in a parking garage or something like that. So we can assign that number here. This is the required parking spaces per residential unit. It's 1.1 in my area, and I think kind of mostly in the world it's usually 1.1 parking spaces per residential unit. We can also add cost per square meter. So if I say, okay, this building is going to cost $1,500 per square meter and save that, now you'll see here the cost parameter will appear, and here it's going to cost 22 million to build this. So the developer might not be happy because of that. So anyways, let's go back here to options and preferences. Then here we have the option for building spaces. So if you remember, we had that option to assign residential, commercial, retail, or parking, and we have the option for unassigned, but we can also create new ones. So if you want to have something like sports or something like that, you can add that, you can add a color, and then you have that option now. And now here, if I just go to shops or something like that, let's see, let's select this. Now here I have that sports option as well. So you can modify all of the options that appear here in the preferences. We also have the building sections that we can use. We also have land uses, so what can we assign there? And then finally we have the unit mix, which is this over here, which I've shown you. So you can talk to like the developer and say, okay, what is the average size studio apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom apartment, and how many or what's the distribution going to be like? Do you want to have mostly 1-bedroom apartments or 2-bedroom apartments, and so on and so forth? So all of that can be assigned here, and then Planary does all of the calculations for you and gives you all of the data here. And then finally, once you're happy with everything you have, you're happy with the analysis, let's say you want to bring this model as massing back into Revit. Well, you have that option too. If I just bring this down, I can go here to File, I can go to Export, and then I can export mass into Revit. So it's going to ask me, so the mass name is going to be Planary Mass 1, perfectly fine. It's going to be on level 1, again, I'm fine with that. So when I click OK, it's going to bring that into Revit. And let's see. So it's working. And here it's going to say couldn't find 3D view to show massing, however massing was created. So usually by default in Revit, massing isn't, the visibility for massing isn't turned on. But if I go here to, let's see, if I create a new 3D view here, like that, and then if I go here to massing inside and turn on show mass, now what you'll see here, as you can see, that massing was imported and we have the model there, so we can kind of take it from there in Revit. Also, we can export the Excel data file. So when you export this, it's going to ask you where you want to save this. So it's called massing study, and let's dash tower. Okay, and then we're just going to open that file up and see what that looks like. And this is what we get. As you can see, it looks really good. So we have some general information on the building, so it pulled out all of that data here. Then we have here information on the units and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of data exported here. So as you can see here, for each level we have all of the information that we need, and we also have an image. So it's going to export an image, which is just a nice touch for visualization. So there we go. That's how you can run feasibility studies by integrating Revit and Planary, and just make more informed decisions when it comes to designing new buildings in Revit. Now, as I've mentioned in the beginning, just to get Planary, it's very simple and straightforward. Basically, you just go to the website. As I said, I'm going to link it up just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. You can download it there and install it. It's going to work with any version of Revit. You find the plugin inside of Revit. You click to open it up, and then you just go to Trial as an option, and that's going to basically link you to their website where you need to sign up, just input some basic information like email and name, and then on your dashboard it's going to give you your trial license key, and then you can use that license key. You just copy it, paste it back into Revit, and you can use Planary immediately. So I think it's an interesting tool. Please tell me in the comment section below, what do you think? Do you think it's interesting? Is it something that you're going to try out? So thank you for watching. I'll be back with another Balkan architect tutorial in a few days. Have a nice day.